Some stories remind us that destiny has a way of turning the tables, proving that man's rejection can be God's redirection. This is the story of a woman who was abandoned for her poverty and childlessness, only to return in a way that left everyone speechless. If you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories filled with hope, destiny, and powerful life lessons. Now, let us begin. Adana's life seemed woven from threads of hardship and sorrow. She met Emeka during their university days in Nsukka, where he was studying engineering and she was pursuing a degree in education. Their love was a refuge from the world. He was the ambitious son of a wealthy trader, while she was an orphan raised by her struggling aunt. Emeka promised her that their backgrounds didn't matter. Their love was all that mattered. When they married, his family was polite but distant. They saw Adana as a poor girl who brought nothing but herself to the union. Still, for a while Adana and Emeka's love was enough. They lived in a modest apartment in Enugu, dreaming of a future filled with children and success. He worked at a construction firm, and she taught at a local primary school. Their home was humble but filled with laughter and prayer. But as the months turned into years, a silence began to creep into their home, a silence born from an unanswered prayer. 1 year passed, then 2, then 5. The joy in their home began to wither under the weight of childlessness. Emeka, once Adana's protector and biggest supporter, started to change. He grew distant, his smiles became rare, and his evenings were spent out with friends, avoiding the quiet disappointment at home. The whispers from his family, especially his mother, became louder and more pointed. She would often visit, her eyes scanning Adana with a mixture of pity and accusation. "A man needs an heir, Emeka," she would say, her words like sharp stones thrown at Adana's fragile heart. The pressure was relentless. Family gatherings became a source of dread for Adana. The sympathetic glances, the intrusive questions about hospital visits, and the unsolicited advice were a constant torment. She prayed harder, fasted longer, and clung to the hope that God would intervene. But Emeka was drifting further away. He started to complain about money, blaming their financial struggles on her, even though she contributed every kobo she earned to their home. He called her a bad luck charm, a barren field that yielded nothing. The final blow came on a quiet Tuesday morning. After a heated argument over a failed business venture he blamed on her, Emeka looked at her with cold, empty eyes and said the words that would shatter her world. "I can't do this anymore. I think we need to go our separate ways. My family was right. You have brought me nothing but misfortune." Adana's world crumbled. She begged him, reminding him of the promises he made, of the love they once shared, but his heart was sealed. She packed her few belongings in a small bag, her hands trembling as she folded the clothes that held memories of a happier time. As she left the home they had built together, there was no grand farewell, only the quiet closing of a door and the sound of her own breaking heart. With nowhere else to go, Adana moved to a bustling, chaotic part of Onitsha to live with a distant cousin who ran a small provision store. She slept on a thin mat on the floor of the tiny, cramped room behind the shop. Life became a daily struggle for survival. She took on menial jobs, washing clothes for neighbors, cleaning houses, and helping her cousin in the store for a small pittance. The shame of her failed marriage and her poverty was a heavy cloak she wore every day. Yet, in the midst of her despair, a small, resilient seed of faith remained. Every night, she would pray, not for riches, but for strength. "God, just show me a way forward," she would whisper into the darkness. She found solace in a small local church, where she would clean the premises every Saturday without asking for payment. She just wanted to be in a place of peace. It was during one of these quiet Saturday mornings at the church that her life took an unexpected turn. A well-dressed, kind-looking man named Mr. David Obina noticed her. He was a successful businessman who had returned to his hometown to oversee a charitable, project built. He had been quietly observing her for weeks, impressed by her diligence and the quiet dignity with which she carried herself. He saw not a poor, dejected woman, but a person of immense, untapped strength. One day, he approached her and offered her a job as a cleaner and caretaker for the new library project site. The job was a lifeline. For the first time in a long time, Adana had a steady, respectable income. She worked tirelessly, with a spirit of gratitude that touched everyone on the project. Mr. David was particularly moved. He saw her intelligence and her gentle nature. He began giving her small administrative tasks, organizing paperwork, keeping track of supplies. Adana flourished. The confidence that had been crushed began to return, and a light came back into her eyes. Mr. David found himself drawn not just to her work ethic, but to the serene strength of her character. One afternoon, he asked her to share her story. With tears in her eyes, Adana recounted her past, the hopeful love, the pain of barrenness, the cruel rejection, and the sting of poverty. She spoke without a trace of bitterness, her voice filled with a sad acceptance. When she finished, Mr. David looked at her with deep compassion and said, "They did not see the treasure they had. What you have been through has not broken you. It has refined you like gold." Those words were like a healing balm to her wounded soul. Their professional relationship slowly blossomed into a deep friendship, and that friendship, nurtured by respect and mutual admiration, grew into love. A year later, David proposed to her in the quiet, beautiful space of the newly completed library she had helped build. He didn't care about her past or her inability to have children. He loved her for the incredible woman she had become. Their wedding was a beautiful, intimate ceremony, attended by close friends and the community members she had touched with her kindness. Life with David was a dream she never thought possible. They built a life of love, peace, and purpose, expanding their philanthropic work to help underprivileged women and children. 3 months into their marriage, Adana felt a familiar wave of dizziness. Fearing she was ill, she went to the hospital. The doctor returned with a smile, bearing news that felt like a miracle. She was pregnant. The joy that erupted in their home was immeasurable. 9 months later, Adana gave birth not to one, but to 2 healthy, beautiful twin boys. The woman who was once called barren was now a mother of 2. Her story became a local legend, a testament to God's mysterious ways. Years passed, and Adana and David's foundation grew, touching thousands of lives. Adana became a beacon of hope, a speaker who inspired women across the country with her story of resilience. She never spoke ill of her ex-husband. She simply used her journey to teach others that God's timing is always perfect. Then, one day, an invitation arrived. It was a lavish, gold-embossed card for the wedding of her ex-husband, Emeka. He was marrying the daughter of a prominent politician, a union clearly designed to elevate his social and financial status. He had invited Adana, perhaps as a final, cruel display of his success, to show her what she had missed. David held her hand and encouraged her to go. "Go not with pride or to show off," he said gently, "but with grace, to show that you have truly moved on." On the day of the wedding, a stir went through the crowd of elite guests as a convoy of luxury cars pulled up to the venue. The door of a gleaming black sedan opened, and out stepped Adana. She was a vision of elegance in a stunning royal blue gown. By her side was her handsome, smiling husband, David, and holding each of their hands were their 2 beautiful twin boys, dressed in matching little suits. A hush fell over the entire hall as she walked in. Emeka froze mid-sentence, his face a mask of disbelief. His new bride looked on in confusion, while his mother's jaw dropped. The woman they had cast out as poor, barren, and worthless was standing before them, radiating success, happiness, and a grace that outshone all the glamour in the room. Adana walked calmly to the couple, a gentle smile on her face. She wished them a happy married life and gave them her gift. There was no anger, no gloating, only the quiet confidence of a woman whose life had been completely restored. She then turned and walked out with her beautiful family, leaving behind a hall filled with stunned silence and whispered conversations. That day, the story wasn't about Emeka's grand wedding. It was about the incredible return of the woman he had thrown away. In life, people might write you off, judge your present situation, and declare your future a failure. But your story is not written by their opinions. It is penned by a divine hand. Adana's journey teaches us that rejection is often God's protection and redirection. It shows that what appears to be a dead end can be the beginning of a brand new, more glorious path. Never let someone's judgment define your destiny. If you feel lost or forgotten today, remember this: your story is far from over, and the best chapters may still be unwritten.